Police in Minneapolis releasing new evidence about George Floyd's final moments. Body cam transcripts show that Floyd told police he could not breathe more than 20 times before he died. NBC News reporter Shaq Brewster joins me now. And Shaq, that's just so hard to hear. Why are we getting this new information, these details about George Floyd's death right now?
Well, this is all part of evidence that's coming out from the attorney of Thomas Lane. He's one of the 4 officers who were fired for being involved in the killing of George Floyd. He wasn't the officer who had the knee on the neck of George Floyd, but he was one of the other assisting officers who were helping to hold George Floyd down on the ground. And his attorney filed a motion yesterday with the judge, asking the judge to dismiss this case. And in about 100 pages of documents, you saw transcripts of his interviews with investigators. You also saw transcripts of the 2 body camera videos. We still don't have those videos, and those videos haven't been made public, but we saw transcripts from those videos. And then you also saw pictures of evidence and pictures of training manuals that these officers went through. And I want to put up one of these pictures that we saw in the evidence presented by the officer and his attorney. And that's it right there. And that comes from a training slide that the attorney says was given to Officer Thomas Lane. Remember, this was Officer Thomas Lane's 4th day on the job. And in that picture that you see there, you see an officer or someone depicting to be an officer with his knee on the neck of someone acting as a subject in this training video. The Minneapolis Police Department has not commented on this. There's been a gag order that was put in place today. So they're not commenting on the investigation, not commenting on if that's exactly if that's a true video or if that's a true clip from a video. But it's something that definitely is being presented as evidence for this officer and evidence that his attorney is putting to the judge to say that it's not even worth going to a trial. Instead, this is something that should be dismissed. Allison?
Shaq, according to the transcripts, George Floyd told police he had the coronavirus and was worried about his ability to breathe. Can you tell us more about that exchange?
Yeah, and the reason why these transcripts are new and important is because it helps clear up a little bit of what happened in between the videos that we've seen already. We saw that Facebook video, that 10-minute long video where you see the knee on the neck of George Floyd. We saw that surveillance video from the Cup Foods where you see George Floyd coming from the car to the wall before he's escorted elsewhere. This helps fill in a few of the gaps. One, it shows that when George Floyd was stopped by Thomas Lane or approached by former Officer Lane had his weapon drawn, and George Floyd said he became nervous. He said that he's gotten shot by an officer before, and Thomas Lane said he drew his weapon because he couldn't see George Floyd's hands. And once they settled that down and you saw George Floyd walk over to the car, things started to escalate when the officers tried putting George Floyd back into the car. But we're going to pull up a few slides, a few quotes from George Floyd. As the officers are trying to put him back in the car, you hear George Floyd and you see him on the transcript tell the officer, at one point he says, "I'm scared." At another point he says, "I am claustrophobic, for real, Mr. Officer." Mr. Officer, that's a phrase that he used repeatedly in these transcripts. And he also said, "Please." He was very kind. The conversation was very simple with the officers. And then he said, "I just had COVID, man. I can't breathe. I can't breathe," explaining why he didn't want to go into the car. Then in what the slides that you're seeing now, and this also came from the transcript again, this is evidence, according to Thomas Lane's attorney, evidence that Thomas Lane was trying to help George Floyd out. He says at one point, "Should we roll him on his side?" Derek Chauvin, that's the officer who had the knee on the neck of George Floyd, replies, "No, he's staying put where we got him." Thomas Lane replies, "Okay, I just worry about excited delirium or whatever." Someone else comes in, says he's not breathing. Chauvin, who is the training officer again, says, "Well, that's why we have an ambulance coming." And Thomas Lane says, "Okay, I suppose." At other points in this interaction in the transcripts, you see that Thomas Lane offers to roll down the window for George Floyd, who was hesitating and didn't want to go into the car. He said at one point that, "I'll wait in the car with you." But you also hear the distress of Mr. Floyd saying that he's scared of the situation, saying that he couldn't breathe multiple times once he was out on the ground. We're starting to get a few more of these details. A few of this picture, this puzzle is starting to be filled in a little bit more as we continue to get more evidence. Allison?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Shaq, I mean, this is all part of the criminal cases against Derek Chauvin and the 3 other ex-officers involved in George Floyd's death. What else are you watching for next? What kind of information, what else can we expect here? Do we know?
Well, initially I was planning, the thought would be that, when I woke up this morning, I should say, I was thinking that, we'll get more responses. The Attorney General might come in, he's leading this case and leading the prosecution. He may have a comment on this. We may hear from the Minneapolis Police Department, for example. But today, a judge put in a gag order on this case, and that's something that he actually teased, or he warned about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago at the last hearing, because he said people were talking too much, essentially. He was concerned that a potential jury pool would be tainted by all the information coming out. So today the judge put in a gag order, which means while we may have more motions, we may see a few more items of evidence that are filed with the judge and filed with the court, we will likely not hear much until August 10th. And that's when the state, the prosecutors, will have to respond to the motion to dismiss that was filed just yesterday. And then the next hearing in this case, where we'll see all 4 officers again, will be on September 11th. So things will move a little bit slowly. We learned at that last hearing that a trial is not going to be set until March of next year. So things will move slowly, but this is just another example of how we can get information all of a sudden. We saw these transcripts, and we saw the transcripts of this video that we still haven't seen. Yeah. Will we see this video, or will we have to wait until trial starts? That's a question that we're all wondering. Allison?
Shaq, I just keep going back to that first thing we said in those transcripts. George Floyd told police he could not breathe more than 20 times before he died. Really startling stuff today. Shaq, thank you for walking us through it.
Thank you, Allison.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.